For years, we've heard about the Iron Brotherhood between China and Pakistan. It's this partnership that's literally been built on concrete and steel. But what happens when that iron starts to rust? Let's get right into it.
I mean, we are talking about a massive, multi-billion-dollar project here. This was supposed to be the crown jewel of their whole economic partnership. And suddenly, it's just ground to a halt. China, the one and only backer, is walking away. And that leaves this giant question mark hanging over Pakistan's entire economic future. So yeah, what is really going on here?
All right, so where do we even start to see the first crack in this so-called Iron Brotherhood? Well, it all begins with the project that was at the very heart of it all, the Mainline 1 Railway, or ML1 for short. And look, this wasn't just another project. It was meant to be the absolute backbone of the whole China-Pakistan Economic Corridor, CPEC.
Just picture this, a high-speed railway, like a massive artery, running the entire length of the country, all the way from the port city of Karachi in the south, straight up to Peshawar in the north. But after nearly a decade of talks and planning, this crucial project has just slammed into a brick wall. Why? Because Beijing has basically said, nope, no new funding, and that's put the brakes on the whole operation.
So, okay, why the sudden cold feet from China? Well, the first and, let's be honest, the most obvious reason is money. When you're dealing with a partnership of this scale, you've just got to follow the money trail.
First things first, let's just wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this thing. $60 billion. That is the total price tag for China's massive CPEC promise to Pakistan. We're talking a huge network of roads, ports, power plants, the whole shebang, all designed to completely shape the country's economy.
But, and this is a big but, here's the problem. Pakistan is already behind on its bills. Like over $1.5 billion behind on payments to Chinese power companies that are already there. So, if you're Beijing, you're thinking, wait a minute, you can't even pay back the old loans? So why on earth would we give you a new one? It's a textbook case of loan fatigue.
And if you want a perfect example of a major red flag for China, just look at this. It's a complete roller coaster of cost estimates for just the ML1 project. It jumps from about $6.8 billion up to nearly $10 billion, and then it drops back down to $6.7 billion. I mean, come on. For Chinese planners who value stability more than anything, this constant back and forth just screams chaos and confusion coming out of Islamabad.
Okay, but the money problems, that's really only one part of the story. There's a second reason China's getting nervous, and honestly, it's a lot more dangerous. We're talking about the rising human cost of this whole investment.
And to really get a grip on that human cost, you have to look at a map. The main CPEC route slices right through Balochistan to get to that key Gwadar port. Now, this province, it's sitting on a mind-boggling amount of mineral wealth. We're talking an estimated $6 trillion, but it's also ground zero for a violent separatist movement that doesn't see CPEC as a gift. They see it as a straight-up colonial project.
And this isn't just a political disagreement. This conflict has a real, tragic human toll. 21. That's the number of Chinese nationals who've been killed in targeted attacks inside Pakistan just since 2021. And listen, these aren't soldiers. They're engineers, technicians, and construction workers, the very people sent there to build these projects.
So to put it simply, groups like the Baloch Liberation Army, the BLA, they see these Chinese workers as the face of foreign exploitation. Their goal is as brutal as it is direct: make the cost of CPEC, in both blood and money, just too high for China to handle. So for Beijing, this dream of tapping into trillions of dollars in minerals, it was quickly turning into a security nightmare.
So you've got massive debt, you've got deadly attacks, and as if that wasn't enough to deal with, a third major player has just re-entered the game, and it's complicating everything. And that player is the United States. Yeah, and this quote really just nails it. As China started to get a little hesitant, Pakistan began to, quietly warm up to its old Cold War buddy, America. And you can bet that Beijing, which really demands total loyalty from its partners, definitely took notice. They started to see Pakistan's move not just as smart diplomacy, but as something closer to a betrayal.
And here's the real kicker. The US didn't just offer some vague words of support. No, they made a direct play for the main prize. The Trump administration actually offered to help Pakistan explore for oil and minerals in the exact same region of Balochistan that China saw as its hidden jackpot. All of a sudden, This wasn't a partnership for Pakistan anymore. It was a competition.
So, with China taking a step back, you'd probably think the MO1 railway project is completely dead in the water, right? But this is where the story takes a really fascinating turn. A new and very different kind of banker has just stepped into the ring.
Let me introduce you to the Asian Development Bank, or ADB. Now, don't let the name fool you. While it says Asian, its biggest shareholders and its whole way of doing business are deeply rooted in the West. We're talking Japan and the United States holding most of the power. And guess what? They are now officially looking at funding a piece of that same ML1 project. And believe me, this is a total game changer. The way China does things, it's all about these closed-door, government-to-government deals, where Chinese companies just get handpicked for the job. The ADB model is the complete opposite. It requires open, competitive bidding. It demands strict oversight. It's all about transparency. Now, for Pakistan, this is a real double-edged sword. Sure, more transparency could mean less corruption, but it also means a much slower, more bureaucratic process. A huge change from China's famous lightning-fast approach.
So let's step back. What does this all add up to? Well, Pakistan is basically at a critical crossroads, trying to pull off a really risky pivot between two global giants. Let's pull all these different threads together.
So when you lay it all out, the picture gets pretty clear. China hit the pause button for three main reasons. Number one, the financial risk just got way too high. Number two, their people were getting killed on the ground. And number three, their so-called Iron Brother started cozying up to their biggest global rival. Honestly, any one of those would be a huge problem. All three together, that was a deal breaker for any new money.
Now, let's be super clear here. This doesn't mean CPEC is dead, and it doesn't mean China is packing up and leaving Pakistan for good. But what it does mean is that the era of blank checks and no questions asked mega projects, that's over. Pakistan is now walking this really tricky tightrope, trying to keep its old ally happy while also trying out this new Western-backed way of doing things.
And all of this leaves us with one final, critical question. Is this big pivot a smart move by Pakistan towards a more sustainable and transparent future? Or is a country that's desperate for cash just trading one master for another, getting caught right in the middle of a great power showdown with its entire future hanging in the balance?